Wow. Oh. Yeah, hey, I'm really happy with the fermentation, the carbonation on this. Nice and fizzy. But with my vanillas, I like it even fizzier than that. Probably going to be well out of focus. Get on, boys and girls. So, this is a music channel. I know it's a music channel, but let's say you go to a pub, right? You get your £5 note out, and you go, right, I can have a few pints for that. We bloody can't these days. I'm going to show you. I'm going to try and put it in that context. Price of pints now are just going up extortionate. So, brewed out the past couple of years, and I find them really tasty. We went to the pub the other day, and I had an Inches cider. And they're beautiful anyway. I'm so used to drinking my vanilla gorilla, I call it, vanilla cider, and I've got a different one here, straight passion, 7.3%. You know, you start preferring your own stuff after a while when you perfect it. So for any of the pros out there, or anybody who knows exactly what they're doing, move on, don't worry about it. I'm just trying to get these, it's called turbo cider, give you some info on how you brew it, and I might be reaching some different people who have never heard of this before, didn't know that you can actually brew out yourself on the cheap. With carton juice as well, so you don't even need the apples, you know, to press the apples and stuff. It's a really cheap and easy, quick way of making it. So let's get started. What I've got at the minute is VWP cleaner sterilizer. I got that on an auction site, shall we say, for cheap as chips, and that is gonna disinfect all of my demijohns in the sink as well. I've got the sterilised bung and airlock that go on top, and I've sterilised any equipment that I'm using. My dad uses stuff for cleaning dentures, teeth dentures. You can sterilise it with that, or you can put a touch of bleach in, but make sure that you rinse it out really, really well. Because I'm banging on about price here, guys, and how extortionate it is at the pub, I want to kind of just give you an idea of how much everything costs. So at the local brew shop, that's a tenner. I think you can get them on the auction sites as well, eBay for a tenner. And the way I do it is really chavvy. I've got it in a plastic Coke bottle rather than getting my bottle capper and capping bottles. I've just recently bought my dad some Grolsch pop top bottles, and I'm going to buy some. Brewing sugar, I'm going to explain the process, so don't worry about, you know, I don't know what's going on yet with bottling and all that, we'll be alright. Cheapest chips as well at the brew shop where I get it. I can't remember the exact price, I bought up a load because it was so cheap, but you can use normal granulated sugar. The yeast can't break the sugar down as well. It takes 2 processes to break down granulated sugar, which is what the yeast feeds off to create alcohol, whereas it only takes 1 process for this. So some say you get a slight tang to it. When I first started brewing out, I actually preferred the granulated to the brewing. Granulated or brewing sugar, gonna need 2 Yorkshire tea bags. Best tea bags go in Yorkshires. Lovely, nice and strong. Reason for that is that will create tannins, because we're not using apples and apple skins and, you know, tannins in the apples. We're just using the juice concentrated. We've got to use something to give it a little bit of bite as well. So tea bags, and then possibilities are endless with your actual juice that you use, base juice, apple and raspberry juice drink. So I make a Razzler, I call it, an apple Razzler cider. But today, I think I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to do a vanilla cider, and I actually nicked this off another YouTuber called Moss Home and Garden. So if you want to know how to brew out proper, you know, check out his channel, because that's where I learned most of this. And I did nick that vanilla, my protein vanilla drop in with just normal apple juice. It's absolutely beautiful. The vanilla makes it super Moorish as well. And then we're down to yeasts. We've got lots of different yeasts. These can be like £1 a pack, you know, nothing major. It'll probably do you like 3 demijohns, 3 or 4 demijohns, because you only need a teaspoon of yeast. So you got your yeasts, and then a yeast nutrient which helps the yeast. So hydrometer as well. You don't actually need it, but it does. That shows you the alcohol content you're going to get, which we'll talk about as well when it comes to it. The process: apple juice in here, sugar. Yeast feeds off the sugar to create alcohol. The byproduct of yeast is carbon. The carbon dioxide fills through our airlock, and the airlock means that no bacteria can get in to spoil your brew. So all it is juice, yeast and sugar. The more sugar you add, the more the yeast has to eat to create more alcohol. And then it's a case of straining off our juice, putting it into bottles, which I'll put in part 2. I'm going to rinse this out thoroughly, and then we're just going to start the process, and I'll waffle along the way with that. And before I do that, let's crack this one. Let's give it, I've been looking at it for weeks and I've been thinking, right, I've got to give it a taste. So this could be bad. I got a little bit of fizz. Oh yeah, I got bubbles coming up. Lovely bubblage. And I can smell the cidery smell as well. Yeah, hey, I'm really happy with the fermentation on, the carbonation on this. Nice and fizzy. But with my vanillas, I like it even fizzier than that. Probably going to be well out of focus. Yeah, my vanillas, I like it even frothier than that. So, Vimto passion fruit and apple juice. Oh no, this is going to be naughty. Right, and the thing is with homebrews, 7.3, it doesn't taste it either, so it can be very naughty. Alright, lovely job. I'm going to sign off for a minute, I'm going to get myself together and go through the process. Oh. So guys, I've put a little bit of apple juice on the hob. I'm going to turn it down now actually. I put my 2 Yorkshire tea bags in, and the key to this is just to warm it up. You don't want it to burn because that will spoil your brew. The only other thing I've done is I've measured out 60 grams of brewing sugar. Well, all I want this time round is a nice 4%er. I want something really light. I don't want to be like doing 7.3s because I'm starting to feel it already. So I want something nice and light that I can drink all the time. Anyway, we've got 60 grams there, but look on the carton. 23 grams. Each 200ml serving contains 23 grams of sugar. So that's another thing, because that'll bump the alcohol content up as well. Oh, I just went to grab a metal spoon then, guys. So, a little trick off my dad. Never use a metal spoon. Don't know why. Use a wooden one. Yeah, I'm going to get those tannins worked in from a tea bag, then I'll add the brew sugar. This brew sugar does dissolve in heat quite rapidly, so you don't need to boil the shit out of it. Nice and slow with this bit. A lot of people use water, but I just feel as though using apple and doing it nice and slow and getting the heat on gradual, getting those tannins in, getting that sugar in, you got more apple in your final brew. So lovely job, I'm going to crack on with that. There's one. You tell whether they've had enough because you start smelling a tea smell. You start smelling the tea smell, boys. Get that one off, get all the juice out. Let's get this sugar in. Sugar is in and dissolving already. There we go. I'm not going to be able to tip it up too much, no. But pretty much that sugar just dissolves. When you stop seeing white in the pan, you know it's all dissolved in. And it's pretty much gone. So I do not want that burning whatsoever, so I'm taking it off the heat now. Can turn the hob off. Let's get the camera repositioned. Let's get you boys repositioned. Next thing is loading up our demijohn. This is the fun bit. So this is rinsed off, cleaned off. So we'll get a little bit of juice in. This is a 5 litre demijohn. So I normally give it 4 litres, and then I've got enough headroom because sometimes you get krausen on top which can blow up out of the airlock. So let's get some in. You can pop a hole in the top, it'll create less of a vacuum, you get your apple juice in there even quicker. But I've got time, guys. Don't waste a drop. Not a drop. I'm even getting happy just off that, so you've got to be really careful, guys. I know some people don't care, but I do. We'll add another one. I've got all different apple juices here. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I'm going to add a little bit of another one actually, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add some yeast nutrient. And the nutrient will just help feed the yeast, keep it healthy, and then you'll hopefully get a better brew. Got my teaspoon measurer. Teaspoon of yeast nutrient. Now what we're going to do is, because we've got some cool in here, hopefully the stuff that I've warmed up on the hob, I can add that to it and it'll just be nice and warm. Because that's another thing, we don't want to kill our yeast with lots of heat. Risky bit. Here we go. So that's our syrupy sugary tea bag solution. So before you chuck the yeast in, take an old hydrometer reading. Pretty much what this hydrometer does is it's buoyant to a certain point in water. The more sugar you add, the more buoyant it is. You take a reading before you brew it out, and then you take a reading once the yeast is eating all the sugar. It'll give you a final reading, and then you'll be able to tell what percentage your alcohol is. So even though I only used 60 grams of sugar, I've got a first reading of 1.044. I haven't cleaned this out, so I'm going to ditch that. I'm not putting it back in. The only one I haven't tried yet is the Gervin cider yeast. Perfect for the rapid and clean fermentation of all types of cider. So should we go for that one? I think we should. It's about a teaspoon of yeast to 4 to 5 litres. So we'll make sure we get our teaspoon out. Got him. Right. Carefully does it, Chris. Don't want that getting everywhere. There we go. We're in with the yeast. So what I can do now is I can swirl this one around, get it all off the rim there. There we go, that's all going in now. So I've got all the yeast in there. I've got no more apple juice left, and I don't want to ruin it with the apple and raspberry. So that's going to have to do. That's our airlock, guys. What will happen is I'll put this in with the bung. It will create a seal, and then you know that your yeast has started going when you start getting carbon coming and pushing all the air out, and we'll start getting bubbles in the airlock. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Every bubble's a little bit more alcohol. That's our brew. It's sealed from bacteria. The yeast is in there. It can eat the sugar that we provided. I can already see a little film of bubbles starting, so it's going to be a quick fermentation. And because I added the hot temperature to it, we got 18 degrees. We're reading 18, so I know that that brew's nice and warm, but it's not too crazy warm either. Oh, what I forgot. I'm going to make this a vanilla one, aren't I? Vanilla Gorilla. So, bung off. I haven't got much left. I want to try and get 3 pipettes full. 1. Come on. 3. And a little bit more for luck. Very vanilla-y. I can smell that vanilla. Oh. Next thing to do, we are on the 20th of the 3rd. We got Vanilla Gorilla. And we started off with a base reading. Yeah, I'm calling that 6. 1.046. There it is, there's our Vanilla Gorilla. We've got to let it brew out now. What we're planning on landing on is 1.000. I'm going to finish off this pint. I might have another one after, I probably shouldn't. Damn me missus' local shop. £1.09 for a litre. A couple of quid for the yeast, sugar, you know, you work it out, guys, but it's damn sight cheaper than a pint. Well, it's a week or two after I've bottled it up. You'll see the process in part 2 when I upload it, but what I've also done, made up another demijohn, lovely and clear on this one. Beauty. I've just done in there. I've added no sugar. I've just added me cartons, 4 cartons, and a teaspoon of yeast. That's it. I should have just said that at the start, shouldn't I? I should have just made an easy one. Taking a hydrometer reading, and even at 23 grams of sugar per 200 mils, it's still going to come out at about 5%. I can't even drop below that. I can't even get a 4% if I wanted to. I'm stuck on 5% because there's enough sugars in there. So those 60 grams of sugar that I did added near on a percentage. I think the most you can do in a demijohn is about 20, so I've heard. I've never tried it. That's an even easier process, isn't it? Just apple juice, spoonful of yeast. And also in that one, I have added 3 pipettes of lemon flavouring, so it's going to be a lemon cider. About to label it up now. Instead of inches, I'm going to call it... I was going to go yards and go big, but instead of inches, I'll call it centimetres. It's Chris's centimetre cider. So when you come around Chris's, you don't get inches, you get centimetres by. Chris's centimetre cider, lemon zest. Nice one, guys and girls. I'll see you later. Lovely.